I think we should all just take a moment and soak in your hair floof. Look at that thing. That thing needs a camera all to its own. No, no, no. No, no, no. You get that floof back to the side. It goes right back into the exact spot that it was in, like it has a memory to it or something. Hey everyone, and welcome to Why You Still Here, the show that we talk about really whatever we want, but today, the Merc with a mouth, perhaps, as well as, I don't know.
So unfortunately, my keychain is actually packed up in a box with some of my other collectibles at the moment. There we go. So Brandon and I went to the fan event on
Yes.
Thursday for the movie, and we did get the collectible keychains, which was awesome. Uh, the Wolverine popcorn bucket, which if they had it, I would have gotten it for sure. They had the zombie Deadpool one left, and I could have bought it, but I didn't. So, we
When
have
we
we have the Wonka hat.
arrived, they still had the Wolverine
Oh, did
popcorn
they?
bucket. Oh, yeah. That's why
I didn't.
everybody was standing in line like
So
that.
yeah, there was a massive line there, but I didn't like think to look because I didn't know it was there until Anthony mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a thing.
Hmm.
And then I looked over and it was not there. I saw somebody leaving the theater with it. I thought it was like a mask. I thought they were like super fans, so they just brought masks with them. So that's nice.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah, we saw Deadpool and Wolverine yesterday, and now we're going to talk about our feelings about it, shall we?
Of course.
And before we do, though, and I took a sneak little peek at this, the IMDb page, the synopsis is just so wrong that it's funny. And so I tried to click over to the side at another synopsis. Sometimes you can do that. And this is
Uh-huh.
the only synopsis they have. So, yeah. But before we get there, let's talk first about this little film here, this little independent film. It's directed by Mr. Sean Levy. My hat goes off to thee. Written by Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, and Paul Wernick. Of course, these are the same guys that have written all three Deadpool movies. And it stars Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Emma Corrin, and an assortment of other people. I guess Matthew McFadden and Daphne Keene. Actually, I shouldn't have said that. Um, I should not have said that. Um,
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
hmm. Well, it's fine, I guess. You saw it in the trailer. If you saw the most recent trailer, they
Oh yeah, then you're fine.
they completely exposed it. But yeah, so well, I'll read the synopsis here and then we'll get into our feelings
Yes,
about
I'm
this
so
movie.
interested.
Yeah, okay. Sit back, relax, enjoy. This is so funny. Wolverine is recovering from his injuries when he crosses paths with the
I'm
loudmouth
I'm gonna need you
Deadpool.
to come with me
They
right
team
now.
up to defeat a common enemy.
I'm soaking wet right now.
What?
I know. Isn't that
It's
terrible?
Yes, guys, that's not what happens.
Not at all. Like, not at all.
That's
And
like
the
you
last part is
you know what
true,
that is?
but
For like for the book report, you didn't even go to like cliffnotes.com and like read the chapter like description. You just read the back of the book and you guessed what was going to happen. What? That's horrible.
terrible.
Crosses
I can
paths with
assume,
Wolverine.
yeah, I can
Sure, with a
assume,
fucking shovel.
yes, I can assume that it is like like an early synopsis that somebody came up with themselves, like just a user, but
Uh-huh.
why has it not been updated? That's what I
That's bad.
wonder. It's
I love it.
terrible. Yeah, so basically the real synopsis of the movie is that basically due to the events of Deadpool 2, the TVA gets involved.
You appear to have soiled yourself while unconscious.
I wasn't unconscious. Who are you? Why am I here?
Walk with me.
And gathers an interest in Wade Wilson and feels that he could be of some use to them in some way, you know. And basically I mean obviously I don't want to get spoilery about this whatsoever if anybody's watching this that hasn't seen the movie yet, but yeah, so due to that whole TVA situation, he ends up seeking out Wolverine. He doesn't just cross paths with him
Oh, he's
and
actively searching, guys.
actively searching, yes. And they end up teaming up to take down Professor X's sister, Cassandra Nova. So, yeah, and all of that again is in the trailers. You can see that, and the movie is wrought with cameos upon cameos, and it's just, it's a lovely little time. So, yeah, Lucas, give me your non-spoiler thoughts on the movie.
So it's the Deadpool movies. So Deadpool himself in the movie calls this the third one. It's a crossover, whatever, but it is a third one. Even the second one, I guess you could say, is a crossover too. But Deadpool, just it's getting better and better and better. So as good as this movie is, because it's fantastic, it makes me wonder how they're gonna top it for the next one, because this is gonna make a lot of money.
Oh
This
yeah.
I it's and because of that, I just don't think that there's no way this is the last of Hugh Jackman either. They make so many jokes about that. They're gonna, until he's
Yeah.
90, everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but this honestly this is like the Flash from last year, but better. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a damn good. And I told Brandon my favorite word for this is just exciting. It's such a entertaining, fun, exciting, never really a dull moment from my perspective. I didn't feel the runtime as much, but
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved it. From the over the top gratuity with the action to the sexual humor, which I said is always one of my favorite things in all three of the movies. Um, I like Hugh Jackman. I mean, Logan is my favorite of the three that we talked about before. This is a better performance. It's right up there at least. Um, awesome movie. Did remember when I said I didn't watch Marvel shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome movie. The 4K wasn't on Amazon yet. I looked.
No, but yeah, I agree. It's a great movie. I sat there almost the entire time just smiling from cheek to cheek, and I The Flash made me feel that way. Spider-Man No Way Home made me feel that way. And besides that, I can't think of the most recent time that I felt like that. I guess Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League made me feel that way, but that wasn't in a
Okay.
theater. So, yeah, it is just a really fun, good time, and it is very much so, a third Deadpool movie. There was like a little bit of like miscommunication there for a little bit where I think it was even Ryan Reynolds saying like, no, this isn't Deadpool 3. This is Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's like it is Deadpool 3 though, in
Hmm.
reality. And like Lucas said, he even says that multiple times in the movie. But yeah, the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, I mean, everybody knows that it's, pretty much unparalleled, and they showcase that extremely well throughout the movie. I think that it
Extremely
is
well.
extremely well. I think that it is a tad bit too long. I think they probably could have shaved like 15 minutes or so off of it. There's a couple moments I thought in the middle that dragged a little bit,
Well,
but it
so
wasn't anything
speaking
that
to
broke
that,
the experience for me.
that I noticed, so also mentioning the audience loved this movie. It was a crowded theater.
Yep.
Everybody was like laughing at the same jokes, you know. The guy to my left was like really howling away at a few jokes. Um, but like the whole theater experience was there. So,
Yeah.
I want to say by like half of the movie, early last third, not that the jokes were not funny, but the laughs were not as like gut busting as the beginning and toward the end. So,
Hmm.
not that I felt the runtime per se, because I didn't. I would watch an extended version probably and still enjoy that. I really like the movie a lot. But just gauging audience reaction, because this was packed. You don't really get to gauge things in the modern day that much because it's not as full. But yes, people seem to kind of lull a bit in the middle. I will give you that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not something that, you know, you know, like I said, breaks
Detracts
the
from the movie.
experience or anything. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that I felt like I had to mention. Anybody that hasn't seen it yet and thinks that the trailers show too much, the rumor came out that they only showed the first half of the movie, and I can confirm that that pretty much is true. Um, so nothing to worry about there whatsoever. There is a ton of stuff that hasn't been shown in the trailers, which is great. Like Lucas said, it's very funny. I mean, very, very funny.
Cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
I am not a big fan of like immature, like juvenile humor. There wasn't a lot of that. Like a lot of the jokes were like legitimately funny jokes. They weren't like lowest common denominator
Hmm.
jokes. There's a little bit of that, but very little. And it has a lot of heart to it as well. Like there is so many moments where it's just like I had to take a step back and I'm like, wait a minute. Is it a Deadpool movie that's making me feel like emotional? Like this is weird. I'm not used to this because I'm used to the first two the first two Deadpool movies, which are just really, joke, 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 joke. Obviously, a little bit of emotion, mostly in the first one, because they do deal with the seriousness of Wade's cancer diagnosis and stuff, but and I guess Vanessa's death in the second movie, but still this was different. This was like on a different level.
Well, I
And
would say,
yeah.
without giving much away, it circles back to the dynamic between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, as well as the characters of Deadpool and Wolverine, because without giving spoilers away, um, I mean, right at the beginning of the movie, you have Deadpool, Wade Wilson, whatever you want to call him, is really pitching himself to be, this next big, huge superhero. I don't know what I
Hmm.
can give away because I really don't remember what was in the trailer. Um,
None of that.
okay, so I'm glad I approached the situation that way. But
Yeah.
the way he does this interview he has his jokes, but
Yeah,
it's
he's like
balanced
serious.
out with
Yeah.
such maturity and heart. It's not that you believe him. You don't have to. You know he's telling the truth, right? And you're rooting for him the whole time. There's
Yeah.
this character development, this growth from the first movie, right? And then you have that like younger, fun, cool aspect, and then channel that to Wolverine, who in this universe is the most, the worst Logan ever. And then is X-23 in the trailers?
Well, that was the Daphne Keene that I mentioned in the
Okay.
cast, so that gave me pause where I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that, but yeah, she was in the last trailer. So if anybody decided to completely just not watch the last trailer, they would have no idea. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
But then you have that really, heartfelt moment where, she's introduced to this Logan, and it snowballs between the two of them together, where I said not just in terms of them as actors, but them as characters too. So it's this double whammy of picking up where the other one isn't, and not in terms of not the ability to act. You know what I'm saying? So it's some of the best chemistry I've seen literally in years. And again, it's like this is from a Deadpool Wolverine movie. It's all
Hmm.
fantastic. So believe the
But
hype.
also, don't think that we're saying this just because, like, oh, it's a Disney MCU movie. So, of course, they have to lean into the emotion because it doesn't have any of, the violence and
Oh
all
no,
of
it's
that adult themes. And it's like, no, this is a very, very hard R rated film, you know,
100%.
and they definitely push it just as far, if not further, in some ways than the other two Deadpool movies. And I'll be honest, I was the first person that was calling bullshit when Disney announced it a few years ago that
Okay.
they're like, don't worry, the third Deadpool is gonna be it's gonna be R, don't worry. And I'm like, yeah,
Well, it's funny
right.
because like just in what you would expect as Deadpool fashion, they allude to Disney and the current state of Marvel from the beginning to the end of the movie in the
Yeah.
funniest, most tasteful ways, to the point where it's like it's
Some
one of the
some
talking points
distasteful ways as well.
that sure, that's I guess like the imperfect storm, if you will. To where everybody that sees the movie does mention all the Disney like,
Hmm.
slaps in the face. So
Yeah, it's good. I have to give credit to Kevin Feige for having a sense of humor and for
they call him out
allowing
by
them
name.
many times, yeah.
Yep.
And he had to obviously sign off on all of this stuff, so
And so I think
massive
like
credit to him.
for me to like know who he is, right? And for me to laugh at these jokes, it does have to be said that I have no knowledge of Marvel like whatsoever, other than the movies leading up to this. So X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, Logan, Deadpool 1 and 2, and then No Way Home. Not related, but whatever. Um, and
But
I
also related because it's the MCU and
yeah.
the other ones you just mentioned weren't.
So, oops. Anyway, so but anyway, so my point is like as far as the characters whatever, I'm like balls deep into this. So, if you like this stuff, like you're going to like this probably even more than
Oh
me.
yeah. There was like tons of stuff that I was picking up on that Lucas couldn't
Could
even
not.
fathom. So, yeah. So it's
So, I guess that has to be
basically I'm not
mentioned
saying
and
like
said.
haha, look at me, I'm so smart. Basically, I'm saying everybody can enjoy this movie. There is obviously some, you know, prerequisite knowledge that you have to have.
Yes, best
Some
way to put it.
because if you're going into this blind, like I was talking with somebody at work today, and he was like, I saw the first Deadpool, and I'm like, Lucas, is that you? No. He's like, I saw the first Deadpool. I've never saw the second one. Is it cool if I see this one? I was like,
Nah, you're going to be
no,
fucked. Absolutely
no,
fucked.
no, no. It
You're
picks
only
right
going to
up from
like
the
the
second
sex jokes
one.
and the violence. There's nothing else you're going to get out of it.
100%. And yeah, so you definitely have to have some knowledge.
Yeah,
And that's fine though. I mean, I would say you'd still enjoy it, but just not on the level that you should be enjoying
for
it
sure.
because it is a very, I mean, it's relatively deep, nuanced movie. It's for the nerds, really, the hardcore nerds. This is what this movie's for. And I really appreciate that about it. But it doesn't alienate anybody either, though. So yeah, just a really, really, really fun time. You walk out of the theater with a smile on your face,
Hmm.
especially with that post-credit scene. You really
That
walk out with a smile on your face,
ah
so
for
but
sure.
yeah, it's hilarious. But yeah, before we get into the spoiler stuff, so tell us your rating for
It's a 9
this
out of
fine
10,
film.
baby.
Yep. Yep. Um for me it's a 5 out of no, I'm kidding. Yeah, of course. It's a 9 out of 10. That's what I said yesterday too. And there's things I dislike about it, of course. no movie's perfect, I'll be honest, and it is just
Mhm.
my nature to go and look for the negatives and things, not to be necessarily pessimistic, but to put on my like, my
Your critical thinking cap, as they said back in
yeah, I
elementary
guess
school.
so. Looking at everything with a critical eye, I guess you could say,
Indeed.
what Chris Stuckman is incapable of these days. So, um, you know. But yeah. So I'm assuming that this will be a movie that Chris Stuckman actually talks about, though, since he only talks about movies he likes, and there's
Shade
nothing to
thrown.
really not like about this. So yeah. If you have yet to see the movie, then absolutely go
Oh,
check it
go out and
out.
see it now.
100%. But keep in mind that you have to have knowledge of the series as well. So keep that in mind. But yeah. So now we will get into some spoilery details, I do believe. So this is your warning if you have yet to see the movie.
You have been warned.
Yeah. If you're still here past this point, you know what you're getting yourself into. Cat Brandon
With his cat suit
judges you.
in the new Mario Wonder 2. Playable character Brandon. Jake from State Farm, get the hell out of the way.
Exactly right. All right, so let's get into it. So that first scene, we talked
The
about
opening
it,
credits,
into the
which we just
ground.
talked about today.
The
Yeah.
opening credits. Yep. Every Deadpool movie has
I
a
was gonna
unique
say
opening
every single
credits
one has fantastic opening
scene.
credits. Did the first one start
And
with like, oh, how did we get here? And then like he tells the story for 20 minutes and then it goes back. Did the first one start that way?
yeah.
Okay, because I know the second one did for sure, and I couldn't remember what the first one did. So I guess all three of them do. So all
Mm-hmm.
awesome stylized openings, and then
Yeah.
going into that opening, how about when he crosses paths with Wolverine? Let's talk about that real quick because crossing paths, I guess if it's with a
After
shovel,
he's
like I said,
hurt.
after he's in a
What does
fucking
that
grave.
mean? That is so stupid. I don't look at that. Because you said that you mentioned a shovel in the non-spoiler part, and I'm like, that's dangerous territory because people don't know anything about that.
Well, since they don't, you wouldn't really put two and two together at that point. Is he digging through the grave? You don't know.
I hope so. But that's even though it leads into the opening credits that we're talking about, that's not, what I think they're talking about when they're like Wolverine's recovering from his injuries. I don't know what they're talking about. Like,
Well, that's
because
all I could relate it to.
I have to
But when
think
he
that they're
died,
talking about like the Wolverine that's in the bulk of the movie.
oh, so this Logan, the one that let the X-Men all die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, recovering from like he doesn't have any injuries. I mean, I guess mental
I was gonna
scars.
say his alcoholism.
You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Yeah. I don't know. That it's really
He's
weird.
drinking hand sanitizer and shit in this one.
That's the joke. Um, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so definitely not crossing paths. Definitely Deadpool is very specifically trying to track down Wolverine because
hmm
he's the anchor point in the universe that has sacrificed himself. And now their universe is the Fox universe is being destroyed because of it.
That's
And
so funny.
yeah, so it's like, well, they have to do something about that. And the TVA, not really the TVA, the guy's going rogue that works for the TVA
hmm
wants to destroy the universe like ASAP to like prove a point, I guess. But yeah, but whatever. So the opening credits though gave me chills. I was like, yes, like I was on board already from that point. Um, Deadpool is like, I am soaking wet right now. Like that's that's what I would think because that whole scene is
That's
just
what
like
you were
so
at the
like,
moment.
yeah, exactly right. Um, 100%. So yeah, and then obviously, um, like we just talked about for a second, but trying to undo the ending of Logan. That was so funny. That yeah, just like, oh, how are we not gonna desecrate the ending of Logan? Well, we're not. We're not gonna try to not desecrate it or whatever exactly is said. Like how are we gonna
Hmm.
get around this without ruining the ending of Logan? And it's like, yeah, well, screw that. We're gonna ruin it because that's not how regeneration works, right? And that was a very destroyed Wolverine corpse that he pulls
Hmm.
out. And it was theorized from the trailers that he is using adamantium to stab into people, but nobody knew for sure. And so it was confirmed. But
About the part when he called him Hugh Jackman and then did the Australian voice and was moving the jaw
yep,
around.
yep, that's good. Yeah, I
Oh
like that a
man.
lot. There's a
Yeah, that
lot
was
of
good shit.
obviously that kind of stuff in the movie where it's like, kind of Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman playing
Hmm.
Hugh Jackman. So yeah, that was good. Um, that whole scene was just like as good and wonderful as an opening I think could ever be for one of
Yep.
these movies. Um, yeah, so there, when Deadpool is shown the MCU and he becomes convinced that he's going to be Marvel Jesus.
He calls
He's
himself Marvel H. Christ
yeah,
multiple
yeah,
times throughout the thing too. And it's
MJ, if
always
you're
an illusion.
nasty.
Oh,
And
it's good.
he is shown a brief moment of Thor holding him and crying,
What is that? Is that Thor? Why is Thor crying?
and he's trying to get the answers for why that's happening. And the guy was just like, "Yeah, that's in the future. Don't worry about that. That's in the future." So that's funny. And
Uh-huh.
it's like it could be a throwaway joke or not. I don't know. Maybe it is in the future. Maybe it's one of those things that it's like up in the air. Um, when he is finally like sure that he's going to be joining the MCU, though, the funniest moment I think personally of the entire movie is him being like, "Wait a moment," and then pulling the camera aside and being like, "Fuck you, Fox! I don't need you anymore," and starts like punching the camera. That was so funny.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. That definitely wasn't something I was expecting whatsoever. And let's talk about this is like the start of some of the cameos that we start seeing. And that is like a certain Mr. Henry Cavill,
Hmm.
perhaps, which is great. And also leads to one of Lucas's first sad moments of this movie
I knew it was
because
too good to be true, but I was
yes,
really holding out hope,
yes,
truly,
it
because how funny would it have been to have my Daniel Radcliffe, I call him Dan, we hang out.
of
So
course,
I like he couldn't tell me, he's under NDA regardless if he's in it or not. He couldn't talk about it. People were theorizing he was getting jacked because of it. It's just no,
sure,
he has a new girlfriend now and he's like off doing his own thing, so we don't hang out as much, but no, Dan was not in the movie. Was very
no.
upset. However, there was a scene when he goes through. Was it? I don't know if it was the first one, but it was very close to one of the first. And that's when Deadpool comes into the bar, and then Wolverine jumps down from the bar top, and he's tiny, and he just keeps going on about how adorable he is. So
Yeah.
at least we got a comic book accurate. Actually, was it? Because that was really tiny. Unless Ryan Reynolds is like 6'8".
Ryan Reynolds is tall. He's like 6'5".
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he's very tall.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I would say yeah, that's comic book accurate, that height, and they made him
okay.
very hairy as well, which was funny because that's how Wolverine's supposed to
Hmm.
be. So yeah, that was good. I like that. And other things as well, like he goes through and is like the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, which is the one with the big like floofy hair like in the alley. as well. It's Old
Mhm.
Man Logan. You see like legit Old
Yeah.
Man Logan. And that was kind of funny because that's what Logan, the movie, was kind of based off of, but not really, because there's tons of stuff in Old Man Logan that they didn't do in Logan. But yeah, with the cowboy hat and stuff on the porch, that was all very, very fun. And then that is, there you see the first appearance of Wolverine in the like brown and yellow suit, and you see a brief glimpse of the Hulk. And I think that it was just, it's just one of the things with my critical hat on. I think it was a missed opportunity to not have Wolverine fight Hulk, unfortunately. And I guess they have plans possibly in the future to do this, but I'm like, come on, just give us like 5 seconds of it. That's all I'm asking for.
Always
Just
asking.
five
Just a tease.
seconds. Yeah,
Just the tip.
something good, because they're like lifelong rivals, basically, the Hulk and Wolverine. And it's just like, it could have been really good, especially because there is a really famous like comic book cover of Wolverine standing next to the Incredible Hulk, and he's is the Wolverine that's wearing the tuxedo and the eye patch. So exactly the version of Wolverine we saw out of the many of them in this movie. So yeah, I don't know. It's a nod to that, I guess, but just
When he was at like the casino table with like the white jacket and
yep,
yeah.
yep, yep. So yeah. And what else? I mean, that most of my notes here are just going on about the cameos and stuff. But
Hmm.
so yeah, you have Henry Cavill, you have Captain America. No, just
Who
kidding.
turns
It's the
out to
Human
be
Torch.
well, because they start off by showing the
Yeah.
shield off in like the distance, and then like the character like had like that coat on, but you could see underneath it like red and white and blue, and then like you
Yeah.
were like, oh, it's Captain America. I'm like, I figured that
Hmm.
part is by whatever, and then
Hmm.
well, it's not.
Yeah, it was funny because I could tell by his voice. I'm like, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. And last time we've seen him was Avengers Endgame. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's gonna say his catchphrase. He's gonna say his catchphrase, Avengers Assemble, flame on. And I was like, no fucking way. Seriously? And that was just, oh, that was like the second best joke in the movie, in my
Mm,
opinion,
okay.
because that was just so damn surprising. And basically, the guy next to me was the barometer for how the general, like, nerdy people of the auditorium feel,
Oh,
because
that's
his
funny because the
reaction
guy to the
to
left for
that.
me was like the dirty jokes. I mean, he had like a really like like an annoying laugh too.
So he's
I was kind
stupid,
of getting annoyed.
basically. Yeah, the guy next to me was like, he was like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yes way
exactly right. That's the appropriate reaction
response.
to have. Same thing with, jumping much further on. And obviously they're in the void because they've been pruned at the TVA, right? And the void is,
Anything
as you
forgotten
probably
about that's
already know,
waiting to
it's like,
die.
yeah, it's everything that has been left behind or thrown away and
It's like a
just
purgatory, they
that's been
explained it as at
gone.
one point.
Yeah, it pretty much is a purgatory. And just where everything goes to die and wither away and whatnot, including the 20th Century Fox logo. As well as the CN Tower, which was kind of funny. So the CN Tower from Toronto, it's just sitting there in the background. I guess it's a Canada joke, and a couple other things as well. Like I think maybe one of the like the carriers from, like the MCU, but also they kind of use that in the first Deadpool movie as well. So I don't know, it kind of looked like that crashed into the ground. People next to me, again, the same guy, as well as people next to you and people in front of us that I could see, were pointing out specific things that
Yeah,
they
I
could
listened to the
see in
guy
the
next to me.
scene. And I'm like, what are they seeing? Like, I don't know. Like, I could pick up on some of the stuff, but I think there was a ton of little Easter eggs. Obviously, you have Sabretooth, you know,
Hmm.
Tyler Mane showing up. That was pretty cool. I was you know, a little disappointed that it wasn't Cotton Weary, but you know, what are you gonna do? Liev Schreiber. I liked that Deadpool was like, Sabretooth, your brother. And I'm like, okay, cool. That was enough for me to be happy because he wasn't always looked at as his brother. That was something that came along with the whole, like, around the time of X-Men Origins with a very specific comic at the time and whatnot. So yeah, like that. And then you have the team. I don't know if they had a name for themselves, but the team that's like living there in the void, that they come in like one at a time, and it starts with Elektra, I think, but then it divulges into, or diverges, I don't, whatever, into Wesley Snipes as
That was
Blade.
so fucking funny.
And I believe my reaction in that moment was looking at you like,
Yep.
what? Because I'm like, Wesley Snipes is so notorious for being such an asshole,
I didn't know that until
for
you told me when we were leaving
not
the
wanting to
theater.
ever play that character again. He was There is a very famous moment in the third Blade movie where they had to CGI eyes onto his eyelids because he refused to open them for the scene.
What an asshole.
Like, this is who we're dealing with here. And he shows up to play that character again. Apparently, more
Yeah,
behind the
a lot
scenes
of
stuff
money.
that I never even really knew about is that he and Ryan Reynolds hated each other during the filming of Blade Trinity. So, like, Wesley Snipes looked at like Ryan Reynolds' character being there was just like a complete like waste of time and energy, and he preferred if they would just focus on Blade himself. So yeah, that was just crazy. It probably was a lot of money, but also probably more than that too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what deal with the devil that Ryan Reynolds made,
Yeah, you said that
but
yesterday.
he did. He certainly did, because that was a huge one. That was the biggest cameo of the movie for sure. Um, yeah, Channing Tatum,
Yep.
obviously,
Was
that
very, very
was
enjoyable.
fantastic. I was so happy for him that he finally got to play that character, the character that he has been campaigning to play for years and years and years, dating back almost all the way until 2009. And it's just like finally it was like a full circle moment where he actually is playing him, and the way he looks in the role looks like all the like the fan art. So I thought that that was a cool
Mm.
nod as well. He's doing the Cajun accent
Oh, it was
perfectly.
hilarious.
It was very good, and there's a lot of little jokes about how he exists here, but he's never like existed anywhere else, and like all the adventures that he he should have had or could have had but never had, kind of thing. And there's just a lot of little subtle jokes in there like that. But yeah, he was really good. I hope that we get to see him again. And because you just know he was loving it. I mean, I've never loved Channing Tatum, but I've
Never
liked
bothered me at any
him,
point.
and he just has such a passion for that character that it's just like, it's, I don't know, the joy radiating off of him is contagious. And yeah, it's just good. Everybody loves Gambit too. He's like he's not the leader of the X-Men, but he's like such a notable character of the X-Men that it's just so crazy that he's never been like like a focal
Central
point
character.
of the team, a central character. Yeah, exactly. You got au contraire, mon frere, in X-Men Origins, and
Hmm.
that was pretty much it. So this was pretty good. Um, and his screen time in this was, I'm fairly certain, longer than Gambit and X-Men Origins Wolverine anyway. So, yeah, I like that. The Deadpool core was awesome. very cool. It was Blake Lively that was Lady Deadpool. I don't know if she was there like physically in person. I assume so because she follows Ryan Reynolds to all of his acting jobs, and she's there on set because,
Mm,
she brings the kids with her, and then he does the same thing with her. Like if she's filming a movie, he goes and brings the kids and
interesting.
hangs out with them. So they always like get like a house or whatever in the area that they're staying in, whether they rent the house or buy it or whatever, I don't know. So I assume that it probably was her actually physically there, but they also might have just pulled the Pedro Pascal and she's just doing the voice, possibly. I don't know, but it was definitely her voice. Um, I thought of something that was kind of funny. I thought it would have been a really good idea earlier. I thought of this while polishing plates. I thought so the Deadpool core was funny, but how much better would it have been if one of the core members was Weapon 11 from X-Men Origins Wolverine? And they could have
Eh?
done so
Eh?
much with that.
That's pretty funny. I'll give you. I didn't even think of that.
So much with that they could have done. Like actually had the mouth get cut open and he starts talking, and you could have done so much with the way he actually talks, and it's like all of that kind of stuff. They could have made
Other than the
fun of
credits, they
him
never had a mention to that, did they?
in this movie in general.
Yeah.
They showed the brief moment from the end of the second movie again where he shoots him, but that's how
I
people
guess that,
justified it.
yeah.
Like, well, he's dead, right? He's dead. He can't be in it.
Come on.
Regeneration abilities,
Well,
and
speaking of which, we can talk about my favorite Deadpool spin-off character, whichever they're called. You said Deadpool Core. I don't even remember them saying Deadpool Core in the movie if they
mm-hmm.
did. But
Yeah.
and then here I'm gonna sound like an idiot again. Was it Nice Pool, Good Pool? What was his name?
Yeah, I think it was Nice Pool.
Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool.
Nice Pool?
Yeah.
Okay. That was the absolute best one. And every time he was on screen was just so entertaining. He was talking about his gold huggy to match his gold plated pistols, and then Dog Pool was his name. Had
Yep.
a matching earring too.
Yep. And it's like the insinuation is there constantly that that Deadpool wants to take Dogpool and murder Nice Pool to just get him out of the picture.
It was so funny.
Like, you want a
Oh,
new daddy, don't you? And then, fuck, it's a Honda Odyssey. The hatred for Honda Odysseys in this movie, I tell you. Um, but yeah, that was wonderful. I agree. I really enjoy all that. And obviously, Nice Pool's death is
was
just
so
so
that was one of
good.
the my top five moments of the movie. I mean, it was too
Yeah. How long does it take to regenerate?
what?
Regenerate?
And then he doubles down with like the hot dog stand essentially being
Yeah.
like a medical center.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
basically
it
the
gets
same thing as
even
a
worse on the
hospital.
way there. And
It's like,
he's
come on, you're basically
well,
dead weight. Why aren't you
yeah,
moving?
well, I
I'm
think I'm
paralyzed.
paralyzed.
Yeah, that was absolutely hilarious. I love that so much. Um, yeah, that was just fantastic.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it's like I think that they did a lot with the Deadpool core, but I don't know. I think that they could have pushed it a little bit more, I think, but whatever. I mean, they showed the zombie head as well, which is I
Which is the popcorn
assume
bucket
Marvel
we talked about.
zombies. It is. Yes, yes. There's like a story arc in Marvel Comics where Reed Richards, not Keith Richards, how dare you? But Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, basically messes something up and creates the whole universe into it like a zombie universe. He turns everybody into zombies. And so that's one of those things, I
Mm,
think. So that's from that
interesting.
universe where he's a zombie. Um, yes, indeed. But yeah, so Weapon 11 would have been funny though, but yeah. Also, I want to mention, um, I was a little surprised. I'm not disappointed that Robert Downey Jr. wasn't in this movie, but I'm a little surprised because he's there, he's talking to Happy Hogan at the beginning of this movie. He's still alive at this point because they specifically say it's 2018. That's before the events of Avengers Endgame. And he's like, "Well, where's the big man? Like, can I talk to the big man?" And Happy's
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, for this conversation, I'm the big man. Okay, you don't need to talk to the big man." And I still felt like the way that Deadpool is, thinking back to X-Men 2, thinking back to Deadpool 2, where the door just opens for a second and you see the entire X-Men team sitting in there
Hmm.
in that room, like just for a split second, like just for that kind of joke, they do that. I thought maybe he was gonna like try to run up the stairs to the building or into the elevator or something, and that we were gonna get a glimpse of Robert Downey Jr. But whatever. I'm happy that's where my head can be though during one of these movies. Like the sky's the limit for anything that can happen. Um, the I just realized I was gonna about to go into how the end credits had a very, very sweet uh, you know, I was gonna say tribute to the whole Fox universe,
It was very
but
sweet.
I'm missing out on things here that we talked about in our non-spoiler part. I haven't mentioned Wolverine once, really, at all, which is kind of funny. Um, because he's such a pivotal part of this, and he does end up finally coming across a Wolverine that's suitable for him, I guess. And he's, you mentioned it before, he's the worst Logan, I guess. And even though he holds himself responsible for the X-Men dying, even though he has nothing really to do with it at
Hmm.
all. He just feels guilty about it. And God, is Hugh Jackman good? He's always good, always, but he's so good. And I was thinking back at work today when I was miserable. Like, come on, just say one more word. Just one more word, please. Give me a reason. Gubernatorial. Punches him in the face. And then like goes on and on. And he has that moment that was actually really brutal, where he's like tearing him down to the bone, saying
Hmm.
everything he dislikes about him.
That
Like,
was when they were in the car when he had the his thing like in his leg.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it hurt Wade as well because he's like,
Well, what are you gonna say?
"I'm
You
gonna
always got
fight
something to
you
say. What
now.
are you gonna say? And he just sitting there quiet. It's like, oh, oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
fight you now." Yeah. And they start having that entire fight scene in the Honda Odyssey, wrapping seatbelts around each
Yep,
other and shit. And that day, the Honda Odyssey got a little bit of respect for Deadpool. You know,
indeed.
it's because he hates that car so much, but he's like, actually, you know what? Honda Odyssey's not too bad. I can't remember exactly what he
Hmm.
says, but basically, it's not too bad, not too bad. And there it was very well done. They didn't really undo Logan at all. Logan still has that very specific ending to the timeline for that Wolverine, and got Laura back, Daphne Keene back, which is amazing. I think that she thought she was probably going to be back a little bit sooner, but then again, everybody thought they were going to be. And because X-23 is like a big character in the comic books, and
Didn't know
it
that.
took until this for her to come back, but it's like a beat hasn't been missed. She went right back into that character beautifully, and even though it's not the same Wolverine she talks to, where it's like, "You got the wrong guy, kid, and you were always the wrong guy
Didn't she say like
until
it's
you
always the
weren't.
wrong guy or whatever
You were always the
at
wrong
the end?
guy
Yeah.
until you weren't." Yeah. Which was all very nice and sweet. And it was in those moments I was like, just a
Sniff,
little
sniff.
bit, you know, and
Hmm.
the sacrifice at the end, you know, where they both Wade is going to do something completely selfless and let Wolverine live. You know, he like tricks him
Yeah, I was gonna say he
into
tricks him.
getting into the room alone so he can, you know, put an end to what Cassandra Nova is trying to do. What in the MacGuffin is that?
That was so funny. And
Yeah.
at least a lot of the audience laughed at it too. So it's like they
Uh-huh.
were moviegoers, so at least they knew what a
Yeah.
MacGuffin is. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing I will give AMC is that like I
The
know their
bar.
back area, the bar, yeah, it's called
Mm-hmm.
MacGuffins, which is really funny. So,
It
keeps it
is,
in the
yeah.
movie trope. I like. I like.
Yeah, it is good. That was a funny line. And whatever that thing is, I can't remember. I'd be lying if I said I did, where she puts her hands into it and is like trying to,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know, end humanity as we know it or something. I don't
But at
know.
least both pillars were close enough in this moment where Wolverine and Deadpool can grab each other to converge at the end, which was
Hmm.
so good. I was hoping that they weren't going to throw each other by the wayside and it was going to end, cohesively because
Yeah, that was
they're
it
both
was
too
good.
huge to sacrifice one of them. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, it was like, you know, it's again, it's weird to say this about a Deadpool movie, but it was very like sweet and like just very nice and sincere them, you know, like linking up to you know, do that with, you know, Madonna's playing and then they say
Hmm.
that he says that afterwards, like you guys lived. And it's just like, yeah, you can't deny the power of two
Of
guys holding
Madonna.
hands while Madonna's playing or something like that. That was funny. Um, yeah. Also, that reminds me of obviously Deadpool so notable for breaking the fourth wall. Going back to Nice Pool, being like, I can gently touch the fourth wall as well. The proposal.
Yeah, you laughed pretty hard at that joke.
I love that so much. Yeah, because it's like, what does that mean? Like, obviously, it's a Ryan Reynolds movie, but it's just like it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's a good movie though. If nobody has ever seen The Proposal out there with Ryan Reynolds and um Sandy, what's her name? Sandra Bullock. I call her Sandy. Uh it's a very, very good movie. Betty White's in it. It's
Hmm.
a it's a
What a
classic, I
notable
think.
cast.
Hmm. It is actually like really good. And I'm surprised you haven't seen it because you're all about the rom-coms
No
and
romantic dramas. Romantic comedies are different.
you're all about the rom-coms and yeah, your dramedies as well, but even more so than that, you're just if it's romantic, there's Lucas, basically. That's the saying. Um,
Yes.
but it is
Patenting.
a really good movie though, because I'm not into romantic comedies. I couldn't give two shits, but I think the movie's hilarious because their chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock is pretty much the same chemistry as Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. So
Perfect.
exactly. But yeah, so going all the way to the end credits, you know, Lucas is learning people, right? Like keep in mind, this is Lucas's first MCU experience in
In
theaters.
theaters.
You know what that means?
It's monumental.
Yeah, go check out a video of ours that's called
No,
Unpopular
it's not a thing.
Opinions. And you'll
This
see,
video is private.
yes, yes. And I think it was part two of the two videos because we had part one and part two. Um, and you'll see how far Lucas has come in, I believe, 2 years. So this is huge. And so Lucas is learning. And I think you already knew anyway, because you've already seen some superhero stuff leading up to this point, DC stuff, that you wait. You wait until the movie's fully over because there's always
Yes.
going to be a mid-credit scene and there's going to be a post-credit scene. So yeah. And in this case, there wasn't a mid-credit scene, but there was something else. There was like to Green Day's song good riddance, time of our lives. And it's
It was
showing like
very
all
nice.
these like really nice, like sweet moments of behind the scenes shots from all these different Fox movies. And yeah, like it felt like a
It
really
was so it was fucking adorable. Like I just looked over at Brandon, I'm like, this is sweet. Like it was the moment
mm-hmm.
where Ryan Reynolds was talking about being Deadpool for the first time in the shit version of
How much
Deadpool
he
and how
loved that
it
character.
was just the most genuine like
Yeah.
excitement, and it was just like it got me just right
You saw
there.
that
And
like sparkle in his eye that he's like so excited to be there. And he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
super young Ryan Reynolds too. Like he's aged very well, but also you see like a clip like that and you're like, wow, like he was so young at the time. And just how far we've come since then as well. And yeah, I mean, even some movies like I've never seen, like Elektra, which, is the spin-off of Daredevil, Ben Affleck's Daredevil. I've never seen that movie. And still I was like, getting almost getting choked up. I was getting a little verklempt. And and so yeah, it was very, very, very sweet, very nice. It gave me the proper ending to the Fox universe that I never thought I needed,
Hmm,
in all honesty.
very
So
good.
yes. Anyway, so basically, and I wrote in my notes as well that it almost made me tear up, dot, 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 almost. Anyway, unlike Lucas, who was bawling. No, I'm
Yes,
kidding.
the whole time.
This is true. This is true. So yeah, I mentioned obviously the whole I wish that there was the Hulk and Wolverine fight, but whatever. The future is vast. And Jake was mentioning, I guess there's rumors about Edward Norton potentially coming back and
As
showing up in like
the Hulk?
mm-hmm, and as like a multiversal Hulk, which is
Oh, okay.
weird for me because you could have like Eric Bana, who played a different version of the Hulk in a different universe,
Hmm.
or Lou Ferrigno, who was a different universe. But you know, the Edward Norton version is the same version as the Mark Ruffalo version. Like they're the same person. So it's like that's a little weird for me, but whatever.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Like they're the Incredible Hulk starring Edward Norton is the second MCU movie. So, anytime you see the Hulk pop up in an MCU movie, that's still that same version. But I don't know. I guess there's rumors that he'll come back though at some point and they'll do like a Wolverine and Hulk movie or something. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll know more after this weekend because San Diego Comic-Con's going on right now, and that's
Okay.
when they announce that kind of stuff. And the last thing that I wanted to say is just I said this to you and others, and I get it. Ryan Reynolds and TJ Miller
That was the last thing
are
I was gonna say also, so
on
good.
perfect. They're not on good terms with each other. I get that. There was allegations about TJ Miller. Ryan Reynolds didn't have his back. Blah blah blah. Okay. That's fine. I whatever. That's not for me to comment on. But maybe still mention Weasel because he's Wade Wilson, Deadpool's best friend. And
If
he
I'm
somehow
not
is just,
mistaken, he gave Deadpool the name, right?
yes, exactly right. And it was like, and they make such a big deal about like, these are the 9 people. This is my entire world, that whole kind of thing. And it's like, well, he should be part of those 9 people unless he's dead. But I guess he's
Which is
not
fine,
because they
but
didn't
mention it.
mention it.
Well, because like I
But
told you, it's like Peter just took over for Weasel in this movie, and
yeah,
that is your Weasel, which he's great, but where's the nod? Where's the mention?
yeah, yeah, bothered me a little bit, just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But that's it. Um, it's obviously it's phenomenal. I'm sure there's tons of stuff that I forgot, but
Of course.
um,
I'm sure we'll
But
talk
also
about it
we don't
again
want
at
to
some
have a
point.
video that's like 5 hours long either. So that's no fun for people to watch. So
Oh, how
yeah, I
contrary.
don't know. Mon frere. But yeah. So you guys out there, if you watch this far into the video, then you must have seen the movie. I hope. Otherwise, this is like a really shitty way to spoil it for yourself, and I
I
apologize.
agree with you on that.
Um, yeah, wouldn't that be the worst way to find
Right?
out about everything
Through
in the
us,
movie?
as much as I'm flattered.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that'd be terrible. But so whatever. You guys out there, you saw it. What did you think about it? What's your score for it? Do you feel it's a 9 out of 10? Maybe a little bit less. I don't know. Knock on wood, I haven't heard
Nope.
anything bad about it. Not a single bad word about this movie yet. So I'm sure it's out there. The contrarian is out there somewhere,
Of course.
that's like, in fact, this is not the best movie, whatever. I don't know.
The
They're out
dark
there.
universe
They're
version of
waiting.
us reviewing the movie and hating it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Except that version of our channel has like 500,000 subscribers and they're successful.
Of course. Negativity sells.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's not good. And that's why I could have a short that is very overwhelmingly positive, but people will dislike it for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you,
Indeed.
unfortunately. But yes, yeah. So comment below, tell us all your thoughts and feelings about the movie. We'll have a discussion about it. And yeah, what did I miss? What did Lucas miss? If there's anything that we missed that you're like, how could you miss that? Are you stupid? Write it down
He had a
below.
yellow suit.
First
And then
time ever.
by the end he does throw the mask up. And then they did make the joke
Mm-hmm.
about I don't know what the hell you even call them, but the sides of the helmet being used as blowjob handles.
Um, yeah, I don't know what they're like ears, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
I just remember
Never
the
really
joke.
understood
And
what
then,
that was
obviously the
supposed to
yellow
be.
suit, everybody was happy about that. So, and then they make it's a joke constantly. And it becomes an emotional joke too at one point when he talks about how he doesn't like wearing that suit because they wanted him to wear the suit, blah blah blah. So like, yeah. All good stuff,
Yeah.
guys.
He
So let
feels
us
like
know
it's
what
his
you
cross to bear to
hmm
wear that suit, which he didn't wear it initially when Wade Deadpool first finds him in the bar, right? So it made me wonder in my head, what were those moments like from leaving the bar to appearing at the TVA?
to stop
Like,
for their wardrobe change.
yeah, he had to stop and be like, wait a second. Like, well, he gets dressed.
It could have
Like,
been a
was he
funny scene. Maybe it's like a
drunkenly
deleted
stumbling
scene.
around?
That's funny.
Maybe. I hope so. And then, like, Wade probably has to help him put on things like his boots and shit.
And then there's a part where he
Um,
grabs his dick in his ass. And then they make a whole
yeah.
joke about it.
Yeah, well, the with putting the suit on, yeah, at the TVA. Like
He's like, "Oh yeah,
your
your
Taylor
your
is
Taylor is a sexual or whatever he said."
predator or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Because there's so many times where he's like slapping his
Slapping his
ass and like
ass.
grabbing his balls and stuff, and you don't really think anything about it at a certain point because it keeps happening.
Keeps going.
It is like, oh, love the suit. It's amazing. Adamantium katanas. By the way, your Taylor is a predator.
And then the one guy
Yeah.
just keeps staring at him, and then he's like, "Do I have to
Yeah.
call HR on you?"
Yeah. He keeps making jokes that this guy is like in love with him over there, and you're like, oh,
And then
it's a
there's the part where he
joke, right?
falls right on him ass first.
Yeah, and he loves it. He's like like he's so excited about that.
I love it.
There is something actually that I almost missed, and that was that Deadpool gets the Human Torch murdered,
Yeah.
right?
He
And
has the
you
whole
think
slew of the
that it
phrase
was
that
a
he gives off.
lie. Yeah, like all these things he's saying about Cassandra Nova, like one thing after the next, like all these things. And yeah, it turns out it's true. And he
He has
even
to go
goes as
prove
far
his
to saying,
innocence
you
at the
can
end of the
quote
movie.
me. And it's like, uh-huh, yeah, go on. He keeps looking at the camera. Like he knows like what's gonna happen after this. Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh
And what's
man.
his name? I don't think it's Heatwave. For some reason, that's always what I want to call him. But he's from the X-Men. Um, let's see here. He was in the first like three X-Men movies. He has the power of yeah, Heatwave is DC.
Mm,
So that's not him. But he plays with a lighter all the time.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Pyro. Pyro. That was
So
the
you.
same actor that came back to
Okay.
play that role years and years later. And so that was pretty cool as well because he shoots Cassandra Nova and wants her dead apparently, I guess. But yeah. But yeah, so that's it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Tell us
Let us
everything
know.
down below, everything that you feel and think and whatever about this movie. Is it the greatest comic book movie of all time? I don't know. Maybe.
It was sure awesome.
It was sure awesome. Definitely. Greatest comic book movie of this year, for sure. Not that that's difficult necessarily, but
Well, just like how
it
I
certainly
watched The
is.
Flash 5 times last year, we'll do the same thing when this comes out on 4K this year, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm gonna go see it in theaters again, bro. I'll go see it. Dolby didn't enhance it whatsoever. So maybe I'll wait till it's in digital.
I don't know. I would have been disappointed not seeing it in Dolby, I think, because there was a lot of moments where it was certainly very vibratory, not like Twisters or Top
I
Gun
was gonna
Maverick,
say
but
maybe because
still.
I saw Twister like a day and a half prior, my not my expectations, but my experience was much higher as a Dolby experience compared to
Yeah.
like Twisters, like just being like a good movie. Like it's fine, it's good. We like it. We like Twisters. It's good. But Deadpool and Wolverine, I was more captivated by the movie than waiting for the Dolby experience, I guess. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Indeed.
but it is a
Was
must see, guys.
everybody
Go see
out
it while the
there?
theaters are still packed because it was a joy. Because
Yes. Yeah. It
I'm
definitely
not,
wouldn't.
I wouldn't be the guy to be clapping for the most of the cameos and appearances from other characters, but it was really wholesome to just hear everybody just erupt and go fucking nuts. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I haven't seen this many people go crazy since Star Wars, and that movie sucked, and I haven't seen that movie go, and talking about Rise of Skywalker, and I haven't seen this many people go crazy since, I guess you could say Barbie, but that's not the same. Harry Potter. That was like the last big thing I remember people
Mm,
going nuts in the theater for. So it was really
crazy.
cool.
People went insane like this for No Way Home.
Okay.
Every single time that the, you know, Doctor Strange hole opened up, like, because we heard it was like the worst kept secret of Hollywood that they were going to be in this movie, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but it was still like in the back of your mind where you're like, but maybe they're not.
hmm
And then they were, and people were like out, literally out of their seats, like, yes,
I
like
I
it
would have been
was
clapping to see Tobey Maguire for sure.
transcendental, let me
Great
say.
word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I wasn't out of my seat for Tobey Maguire. I could give a shit, uh, Andrew Garfield, I was for sure. But yeah, and also for the post-credit scene of Black Adam, which had Henry Cavill in it, making his now final appearance as Superman, where they were setting up him coming back many, many more times, and people were losing their shit over that. And then what, like a couple weeks later, they're like, yeah, that's not happening anymore. So,
Mm-mm.
so it's not
All right,
all
everybody.
sunshine and rainbows, everybody.
Though for this
Keep
movie, it
that in
was.
mind. This is true.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.